Good morning, YouTube. My name is Reverend Dr. Lance. I am on a website called evilbible.com. And I'm looking at it's basically a sociopath who gives an argument and tells me what he thinks the Bible is all about. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say one good thing about this author. He was right about one thing. And the only thing he was right about that I agree with was that Adolf Hitler was a Christian. That's the only thing you were right about. In fact, but let me educate you on the Holocaust because you got some of your information backwards. First of all, we should not allow people to allow us to make a decision on whether or not we should be a Christian or not. Second, you have two types of Christians. You have the good Christian who wants to be the best person he can possibly be, live according to God's law, and do good by others at all times. That's the real Christian, like myself and others. And then you have the Christian wannabe, that evil Christian, that second type of Christian. Second type of Christian, they raise hell 6 days out of a week. Come that Sunday, they go to church to repent to make up for the hell that they're about to commit. That was the type of Christian that Hitler was. He raised hell 6 days out of a week, only to go to church on Sunday to make up for the hell he was about to commit the following week. That is the second type of Christian. To even go into a little bit deeper into that, yes, Hitler was a Christian. Yes, Hitler was a Jew. Yes, Hitler hated the Jews. Yes, Hitler hated himself. Hitler had some issues with himself. We have to understand Adolf Hitler wanted to be an artist originally. However, his father mocked him and took him out, told him that's not a possibility. You ain't gonna make no money off of art. You need to do what I did, get into the military. In fact, Hitler's father is the reason why he became a dictator. You should have read Mein Kampf, son. Adolf Hitler wrote the book called Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf is a German phrase that stands for my struggles. Part of Hitler's struggle was being forced to join the military when he didn't want to join. Part of Hitler's struggle was not being able to study art the way he wanted to. Part of Hitler's struggle was not getting accepted into the best art school in Austria-Hungary. That was his struggle. And we can relate to that. We've all been denied of things that, that we wanted to be in. Like in my case, okay, when I was 16 years old, I wanted to get into DeVry. But I couldn't get into DeVry because I was afraid of the South Shore neighborhood. But God, that wasn't God's plan for me. And we have to understand that if it's not God's plan for us, then we need to do what God wants us to do. God's plan for me was to go to the University of Minnesota, be a student there, come on back. That was God's plan for my life. And this author says the Holocaust was caused by Christian fundamentalism. You're right about that again. Again, you're right. The Holocaust, but that's not the only motive of the Holocaust. If you're saying that's the only motive behind it, you're incorrect. Hitler wanted to create a pro-eugenics movement where the Nazi ideologies of the eugenics race would survive, and that those who were not chosen would either be sterilized, killed, or experimented on. The chosen race, in his eyes, were the blonde hair, blue-eyed children. Since he had blue eyes, he envisioned people being blonde hair, blue eyes. But we have to understand that Hitler was mentally ill in some of the things that he was saying. He took about 20 pills, 20, 30 pills a day. You know, he was mentally ill. So, I'm not saying that mental illness was an excuse or a reason why he acted the way he did, because you can't really use your mental illness as an excuse to act as. But I will say this: they didn't have many options as far as mental illness medications went at that time. Because the only thing you really had in America was Thorazine and Haldol, and that was in the 1920s. And you also had lithium. So, you know. Another thing he says, Holocaust history can be broken down into 4 categories. Facts about Hitler's involvement with the church, how the church was a catalyst to anti-Semitism. You're right about that. Yep, you're right. Because there's a lot of Christians who believe that Jews are to blame for the murder of Jesus Christ. And it wasn't just the Jews, it was also the Romans. You can't forget the Romans. Pontius Pilate was a Roman official who went along with the Jews. I mean, he couldn't discriminate against Jewish law and Roman law, but he had to wash his hands. He said his death won't be on me. So that's why we put the blame on the Jews, but it was the Jews and the Romans that killed Jesus Christ. And it's a damn shame that the Jews would kill their own people. It just reminds me of what you see in the black community. Black people killing their own people. We got to learn to stick together, but all we do is talk down upon each other. And that irritates me as a black man. I'm not saying only black people need to stick together. All races need to stick together. That's what I'm saying. So I need to clarify that. As far as anti-Semitism goes, anti-Semitism is a racial hatred towards Jews. We have to remember, we are descendants of Abraham. Abraham is the father of the 3 basic monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Judaism is supposed to believe in compassion. Christianity is supposed to be based on forgiveness. And Islam is supposed to be based on unity. What we're seeing in the Middle East, that's not Islam. What I'm seeing in this country, the way Jews treated me, and from the Jews from the what you call that, from the what do you call that? Hold on. Jews from the synagogue treated me like a disgusting piece of shit. Excuse my language. I hated to say that word, but it just came out. Jews treated me horrible from the synagogue. Hitler had a vision And his vision entailed, he believed Jews and blacks were the lowest form of human species. I'm getting this information from Freedom Writers, the movie. It was a 2007 movie that I looked at. Jews and blacks were the lowest form of human species, according to Hilary Swank. And, he drew these pictures of Jews with big noses, blacks with big fat lips. Why do we talk down upon each other? We should train our kids to be uplifting, to encourage one another, to compliment one another. Not telling the kid you're ugly. Suppose that kid committed suicide, the one you call ugly. Then what? There were times in my life where I thought about suicide, contemplated on the idea. I didn't act on it, but I contemplated on it. I thought about, but we have to learn to, I want to say learn to ignore words, but it's hard to ignore words if you suffer with depression, though. That's hard. I give you that. However, so this guy's only focused on Hitler's involvement with the church and the history of that. When it comes to that history, you're right, but the Holocaust was more than that. It was about Holocaust. You have to remember, in America, we were doing the same things that Hitler was doing to the Jews. Only in America, in Europe, Hitler did what he did to the Jews, the blacks, and the non-Aryans, the Romanians, the Gypsies, the Czechoslovakians, all those people. He did that to them in the same way that America were pro-eugenics, and that they were experimenting on black people. America did the same thing that, in fact, we have to understand this though, and then I don't even know why you didn't put this in your writings. Adolf Hitler learned to be prejudiced, racist against the Jews, because when he came to the American South, he learned how to be racist towards Jews by visiting the Jim Crow South. In the South, you had a restaurant for white people only. You had a restaurant for black people only. In the South, you had water for white people only and water for black people only. And the thing that gets me, white people would piss in the water fountain, in a water fountain, piss in the drainage to where we get our water from, in the black only section. We were dealing with Jim Crow. In fact, I'll get into another video about this, but Jim Crow also existed on the north side, but it was hidden. It was just in the form of racial covenants, and we'll talk more about that in another video. Well, keeping our focus on Hitler, Hitler learned how to do what he did to the Jews because he visited America in the South, and he saw how we treated our own. He said, "Oh, I do this to the Jews." Jews had to be in the house by 7 p.m. Jews couldn't be involved in universities or colleges Jews couldn't play in sports. Jews couldn't. Jews could only go to certain restaurants. Jews could only own certain businesses. Certain businesses had to be transferred over to the Nazi. What he did to the Jews is the same thing that the Americans, the American Europeans, did to the Native Americans here, to the black people. We were enslaved. 2/3 of the Native American population died because we gave them a blanket that contained diseases like smallpox, yellow fever, and everything else. And we gave it to the Native Americans so they could die. And had it not been for black people in this country, America would not be where it's at today. I can't blame people, places, and things. As I study history, I learned that I cannot blame people, places, and things. But part of my psychosis involves thinking about Hitler and the things that he did and how he was able to get away with the murder of more than 6 million Jews, 25 million non-Jews. World War II, 1939 to 1945, was the most catastrophic war outside of World War I. We lost more people in World War II than any war in history. 31 million people died in World War II, at least, just about. In World War I think we had about 10 million casualties. In World War II, more than triple. We had about 31 million casualties, at least. Hitler was against the communists. He was against all those things. He would have succeeded had Japan not bombed Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. And Japan was allies of Germany. So you only had three major players then. Germany, Italy, and Japan. Who wiped out more than 31 million people. And we have to understand, Hitler didn't do all the killings himself. He was just the face of the Holocaust, the Nazi leader. He got in power because we were going into what was called the Great Depression. October 29th, 1929, the stock market crashed. And it crashed because millions of people in America were investing into the stock market. They were taking a gamble at stocks that they saw on NASDAQ and all that stuff that they see on Channel 7. Never invest into the stock market. That is a way to lose your money. You're taking a gamble on your money. If you're going to invest, at least invest into corporate bonds, stocks and bonds, to the bond checks that you get. Invest into that. You can invest into the Department of Corrections. You can invest into, because there's always going to be some troublemakers out there now. You can invest into the WWE. You can invest into all these things. Banks, all these things. Houses, all these things. RAD, redefining the American dream. That's investing into houses and land and all that. You can invest into those things. But never invest into the stock market. That's how billions of people lost their money all around the world. Hitler was just the face of the Holocaust. We have to remember it was his second in command, Heinrich Himmler, that did all the killings. Because what he did first, Himmler's hired Einsatzgruppen A, B, and C. Einsatz, they were all in charge of killing the Jews. Einsatzgruppen A did most of the killings. But Himmler went to do a study on his men to see how it can psychologically mess with a man's mind to have to kill somebody. For no apparent reason. For obscure reasons that you're making up. Himmler noticed that when the Nazis had to kill the Jews, it psychologically messed with the Nazis. So he had to come up with a plan to answer the Jewish question. What do you do about the problem child? In this case, the Jewish people were the problem child. And this sociopath was also right about the idea that the church thought it was okay for Hitler to do what he did, that he was justified in doing what he did since the Jews killed Jesus Christ. He was right. Again, you're right. I'm not doubting that. But you're wrong in just focusing only on that angle. You're just looking at this from a religious point of view. You have to look at this from a world point of view. How did America treat the blacks? Why didn't you bring that up? Why didn't you bring up the fact that Hitler learned how to be racist because of racist America? Why didn't you bring up Jim Crow? You're ignorant in the sense that you're only focusing on religion. Remember, you got religion, politics, and law. And then you got world history. Never focus only on one. So Himmler came to Hitler and said, let's just gas them. And why don't you bring this up? Holocaust means death by fire. What Hitler and Himmler did to the Jews was called the Holocaust because he burned them in the gas chamber. That's how millions of Jews lost their life. And as Jesus said, when the Jews were making an attempt to kill him, he said, your flight will come this winter. Might not have came when they killed him in 33 AD, but it did come when nearly 2,000 years after the death of Christ, their flight came. Christ died in 33. In 1930, it's literally 2,000, almost 2,000 years later, you had to deal with Hitler. And there's another person whose name began with H that tried to annihilate the Jews. His name was Haman in the book of Esther. The Bible speaks about 12 different Holocausts, beginning with Sodom and Gomorrah, and the controversy is over why these two cities got destroyed. See, this guy would go along with the theologian's point of view and say that Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed because of homosexuality. But if you read your Bible from cover to cover, from beginning to end, you'll learn that the Babylonian prophet Ezekiel highlighted the real reason why Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed. You have to remember, this is a history book. In Ezekiel 16:49, the prophet said, this is the reason why Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed. She and her daughters were arrogant, prideful, gluttons, for they did not take care of the poor, the needy, and the homeless. We all represent the needy. We all have needs. We all are poor. Whether you have money or not, you're poor. Because you can have money, all this money in the world, but be spiritually poor, spiritually bankrupt, spiritually dejected. The only thing I ask for is wisdom. And this book is the only book that will give it to you. Don't let the actions of people, places, and things stop you from being a Christian. Whether you choose to be a Christian, a Buddhist, or a Lutheran. Oh, excuse me. You should do it because you feel it goes along with your morals. If the religion don't go along with your morals, don't go along, don't practice it. Okay? The Bible goes along with my morals. That's why God made me knowledgeable about it. And I'm here to spread the knowledge. So remember, Sodom and Gomorrah, I take the historian's point of view because I'm a historian. Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed because people of these two cities, they only cared about me, myself, and I. We need to get out of that me, myself, and I mentality. Yes, we should help ourselves before we can help someone else. But once you're able to help yourself, it's time to eliminate that me, myself, and I mentality. That's what, Cain's gift didn't get accepted because he only focused on me, myself, and I. He had a sour attitude. He really needed to work on himself. Is what God was trying to get him to do. And before he even listened, he killed his brother Abel out of the blue. And then this guy would be the type of person to argue that God hates gay people, and he'll kill gay people and all that. Again, if you study history, you will learn that it's not that God, first of all, the Bible was misquoted in 1946, and we didn't catch that misquote of the original Leviticus 18:22 until 1979. Prior to 1946, Leviticus 18:22 said, child sex abusers are an abomination to our Creator God. They should be put to death. That's why Louisiana has a law that says all rapists are to be put to death. They put rapists and child molesters to death. And I agree with that law, because that was what Leviticus 18:22 originally said. And then you have to understand that in 1946 they put man should not have sex with a man. It is an abomination. They should be put to death. That was added in there in 1946. You got to study history. That's why I'm a history major. I know the truth. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The Roman Catholics and the Catholic priests, they took that verse out of there to take the blame off of them because they were guilty about what they were doing to them children. Your ass chose to be celibate. So, celibacy is since you chose to be celibate, then guess what? you need to continue. You chose that lifestyle. Man wasn't meant to be celibate. I'm going to tell you that right now. Sex is important. You know, the Bible wants you to be celibate in the sense that it argues that lust is a sin. Lust ain't no damn sin. Lust is necessary in order to boost your sexual life. If you don't have lust in your marriage, your sex will diminish. If you don't marry someone on the basis of lust, your sex life will diminish. You need lust in order to enhance your sexual life. My sexual life is enhanced because I choose to lust after people, places, and things. Now, the only time lust doesn't become a sin, but if you are obsessed with people, places, and things, then it becomes a sin. It's not that lust is a sin, it's obsession over people, places, and things is a sin. And we need to eliminate lust from the 7 deadly sins. Lust is not a sin. Obsession over people, places, and things is a sin. So I'll give you one thing. You're right about one thing, sir. The sociopath is right about one thing. Some of the terminology that the Bible uses is outdated. But we should not be mad at the people that wrote the Bible. We should, because at the time they wrote it in 1611. We didn't have much broader vocabulary then. And it really wasn't until my great-grandfather, Webster Johnson, was the one that created the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So we really didn't have a broader vocabulary like we do today. And I thank God for this broader vocabulary, because now we can use words to get people to understand people, places, and things in the English language, which are all nouns. I thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I pray that you consider. I want you to. What I want from you. Please subscribe to my channel. Please let your friends know about me. Share this with your friends. Share this on your Twitter, Facebook account. And if you can, donate some money to me at Reverend $, all lowercase letter, the word Reverend, REVEREND, LANCE, and the numbers 33. Donate some money to me. I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all time and generosity. And even if you don't donate to me, I'm still going to do these videos. If you do donate to me, what I really wanted to do, my vision is to have my own church. I want to create my own church, That's my vision, to create my own church. My own denomination, my own church, and all that. That's my vision for myself. Anyway, I love you all, and take care. Bye-bye.